Hello, this is Barry Nirmal. I'm a computer guru, having spent my whole life in computing. You can find my books on computing by searching Google for Barry Nirmal books . Please subscribe to my channel by clicking on the subscribe link below. Also donate to my channel by clicking on the donate link which is given in the description field below. Hello friends, in this video I will express my deeply held beliefs about God and religion by answering a few questions that arise in our minds. Number one, does God really exist? Number two, is religion necessary in the 21st century? Number three, if religion is not really necessary, why do people believe in religion? Number four, do rich people also need God and religion? Number five, can poor people survive without God and religion? Number six, why do people in the West hate Islam? Number seven, why do people in Islamic countries mistrust the West? Number eight, which is the best religion? Okay, let's take up number one. Does God really exist? God exists, but only as a concept. There is no physical entity called God. The concept of God was invented by philosophers to answer the eternal questions that man asks, which are, what is the purpose of life? Who created this awe-inspiring universe with trillions of stars and billions of galaxies? Who created me and for what? So the religious philosophers wrote these holy books called scriptures, in which they say that the purpose of life is to seek God, to serve God, and to spread the word of the holy God. They say that it was God who created this awe-inspiring universe. And to the question, who created us, they answered that it was God who created man, that we are the children of God, and so on. Around 1854, there was a new theory propagated by people like Victor Hugo, Hegel, and others, that God was dead. German philosopher Nietzsche used the phrase, quote, God is dead, unquote, to express the idea that the Enlightenment had eliminated the possibility of the existence of God. Nietzsche's complete statement is, quote, God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him. How shall we comfort ourselves, the murderers of all murderers? What was holiest and mightiest of all that the world has yet owned has bled to death under our knives. Who will wipe this blood off us? What water is there for us to clean ourselves? What festivals of atonement? What sacred games shall we have to invent? Is not the greatness of this deed too great for us? Must we ourselves not become gods simply to appear worthy of it? Unquote. But to say that God was dead implied that God was born once. God was never born as a person or a being. God was born as a concept of man. The Greeks had many gods who had many names. Abraham was the first person who refuted the idea of many gods of the Greeks. He gave the concept of one God. Abraham is given a high position of respect in three world religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. In Judaism, he is the founding father of the covenant, the special relationship between the Jewish people and God, leading to the belief that the Jews are the chosen people of God. This idea of refuting the concept of many gods and adopting the idea of one God is called monotheism and is central to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, But that does not mean that monotheism is correct. Hindus worship many gods and they are just fine. But all these gods are products of human mind. No one God is superior to others. To say that my God is superior to yours is stupidity. There is a saying that if God did not exist, man would create one. This is what has happened. God never existed but was created by man. The gods of Greeks, the God of the Jews, the God of Christians, the God of Islam, the Hindu gods, all were and are mere concepts and are products of human imagination. I mean, why did man create God? Because God meets a deep-seated need of human beings. Because of who we are, because of our weaknesses, our vulnerabilities, because of our limitations, we need to believe in God so as to find solace and mental and spiritual support. Without belief in God, we would lose a great source of support and our mental well-being would be threatened. This is why it has been seen that when a man condemned to death for murder, when he knows that he is about to die, he becomes a strong believer in God. When a man knows that he will die in a month, to pass that 1 month becomes a huge burden for him. He needs faith in God just to pass that 1 month. Also knowing that God will give him a place in heaven after death, that God loves him unconditionally, without judging him in any way, as the people in the world do. That gives him great moral and spiritual support. So atheists do a great disservice to humanity by preaching that man need not believe in God. My teaching is to believe in God if you need to, but understand that God and religion are human inventions. And do not become a religious fanatic and start hating people who are of other religions or who are atheists. Respect all gods and all religions, and respect atheists and agnostics. Question number 2, is religion necessary in the 21st century? Yes, religion fulfills a role that no other organization does. Some atheists promote the idea that culture, literature, and science can take the place of religion, that man can engage in cultural, literary, and scientific pursuits instead of believing in a religion. Religious organizations create division in society by preaching that their religion is better than others and by instigating their followers to hate other religions. History is replete with religious wars. Religious riots and armed conflicts take place even today at regular intervals in many countries. Read the following quotation from Brothers Karamazov, famous novel by Dostoevsky. Quote, "It is precisely that requirement of shared worship that has been the principal source of suffering for individual man and the human race since the beginning of time. In their efforts to impose universal worship, men have unsheathed their swords and killed one another. They have invented gods and challenged each other. Discard your gods and worship mine, or I will destroy both you and your gods." Unquote. But religion also has positive aspects. They give their followers God and the holy books to believe in, and to those who find no purpose in life, they give them a purpose. Religious organizations also run charitable organizations and help the poor, the needy, the sick, the old, and lonely. In the USA, I have observed that many Hindu temples act as a meeting place where Hindus can congregate and have free food. This is of great benefit to the old and the sick, and also to those who live alone due to divorce or due to having never married. These people get to meet others who share common religious and cultural beliefs, and this alleviates the pain of loneliness. Without such temples, many people would die of depression caused by loneliness. Governments alone cannot meet all the needs of the people, some of which are fulfilled by religious organizations. The Soviet Union collapsed not only because their economy had become too inefficient, but also because they forbade their citizens from believing in God and religion. They followed the thoughts of Karl Marx to the extreme and forbade religion and God. India, after independence in 1947, was full of poverty and corruption. People suffered from grinding poverty. But religious freedom was plenty, and the nation had many religions that people could freely believe in. India has been called a factory of religion. This helped the people to survive and to have hope in the future and to have a purpose in life. China, after the death of Mao Zedong, would have collapsed like the Soviet Union did if Deng Xiaoping had not initiated economic reforms by introducing state-sponsored capitalism. After he returned from his visit to Singapore, foreign travel does wonders. If Mao Zedong and Joseph Stalin had visited USA, UK, and India and had traveled extensively, their outlook too would have been changed greatly. China still forbids the religion, but if they become too aggressive in banning God and religion, the society will suffer from serious problems. Economic prosperity alone will not hold the country together. Eventually, the state will have to give people more freedom of expression, as well as religious freedom. If they do not do so, the system will collapse, just as Soviet Union and its satellite states in Europe collapsed. Number 3, if religion is not really necessary, why do people believe in religion? In Islamic countries, the people are heavily brainwashed at home and in mosques, starting from very early age. When a child is only 1 or 2 years old, they whisper in his ears verses from the Quran. Young children are encouraged to memorize the Quran and to recite its verses. So by the time they are 10 or 12, they have been so much brainwashed that they will die for their religion and for their prophet. Do you know why Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, and some other Arab countries are full of fanatics? It is due to religious brainwashing, plain and simple. In Pakistan, after its creation in 1947, there was a sizable Hindu minority. Since then, most of the Hindus have been converted to Islam. Those who resisted have been killed. Hindu girls are still being kidnapped in Pakistan and married off to Muslims. The same thing has been happening in Bangladesh, which was earlier East Pakistan. These facts attest to the bad side of religion. As regards the West, the following is worth noting. By the way, because of the persecution of Hindus in Pakistan and Bangladesh, the Indian government passed a law allowing the Hindus from these countries to migrate to India and live peacefully. But Muslims in India are dead against this law because they do not want Hindus to live in peace. Anyway, as regards the West, the following is worth noting. We are living in a technologically advanced society driven by science that tells us the world moves according to the laws of physics and not the whims of spirits and deities. Nevertheless, religious belief in one or more gods that watch over our actions and judge us accordingly is quite common. At the same time, thankfully, religious belief has dropped tremendously in the West over the last century, and here are the reasons. People who tend to act according to reason rather than intuition are less likely to believe in God. We also see a tendency for people who are higher in intelligence to hold agnostic or atheistic beliefs. There are also motivational reasons for religious belief. People who are socially isolated tend to have more religious faith, perhaps allowing them to feel they are not truly alone. Likewise, people facing death are more likely to express faith in God and an afterlife. The old saying that there are no atheists on the battlefield is no doubt true to a large extent. Furthermore, faith in God increases when situations become uncontrollable, as in the case of natural disasters. Believing that God has a plan helps people regain some sense of control, or at least of acceptance. Another motivational factor is self-enhancement. If you live in a society where religion is prized, for example in USA, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Pakistan, or India, it is in your best interest to say you believe, whether you truly believe or not. I am sure there are plenty of doubters in the congregation at Sunday services, though none will admit it. And it is not uncommon to hear stories of priests or pastors who have lost their faith but continue to preach because it is the only way they can make a living. Finally, there are societal factors that influence the degree of religious belief within societies. As a general rule, religious belief is considerably lower in developed countries compared to the underdeveloped one. For example, Japan has one of the highest standards of living in the world, but only 4% of its population claims to be religious. Traditionally, Japan was a Buddhist country, and religion played an important role in the daily lives of the Japanese until after World War II. A similar trend has occurred in Western Europe, which many social scientists now characterize as post-Christian. The United States, with its high standard of living and high religiosity, is the glaring exception. However, Japan and Western Europe have universal health care and extensive social safety nets as compared to the US. The Japanese and the Europeans know their government will come to their aid in the hour of need. But the laissez-faire attitudes of American society and pervasive gun violence makes people's futures less certain and the belief in a benevolent God more attractive in the USA. Although many people in industrialized societies have abandoned traditional organized religion, many of them still confess to some sort of spiritual belief, such as a life force or divine spirit that pervades nature and humanity. As societies become affluent and egalitarian, perhaps people perceive less need for a benevolent God to keep watch over us. So organized religion may no longer be needed in such societies, but it's still human nature to perceive some force or agent in the background in the complexity and unpredictability of the world. Question number 4. Do rich people also need God and religion? Rich and powerful people have less need for religion. But when a man becomes rich via unfair means or by exploiting and hurting the poor and the weak, he starts to suffer from guilt and self-loathing. When the strong walks over the weak, humiliating him, he realizes that he has done something wrong. So he calls the priest who chants hymns from the holy books to absorb the sins of the rich and powerful. And the rich and powerful feel less guilt and feel at ease. Also, the rich too get into serious trouble. They too get sick and die an early death, despite being able to afford the best doctors. Take the example of Jeffrey Epstein. He was a multimillionaire with many friends in high places. But when finally justice caught up with him in the USA, he ended up in prison. He either killed himself or was killed by someone. But just before death, I'm sure he remembered the Lord a lot. Number 5, can poor people survive without God and religion? The poor need God a lot. There is nothing nice about poverty, even though there is a song in Hindi that says, quote, "My heart aches and enjoys my grinding poverty." The ascetics also live in poverty, but they enjoy it because either they do not have a choice or because they have willingly adopted this path. Poor man needs the help of God just to survive. When a man has no roof over his head, when he does not know how he will get his next meal, he thinks of God a lot because God is the ultimate helper. When no one seems to help you, you can always count on help from God, who is everyone's Father. Number 6, why do people in the West hate Islam? Christianity and Islam have been fighting one another since the birth of Islam around 632 CE. Soon after its birth, Islam started to conquer new lands. They conquered all the lands of the Middle East. They captured Jerusalem, the holy city of Christianity and Judaism. Then they started expanding into Europe. They had almost taken over Spain and were moving north. Then the European Christians launched crusade, and the church leaders exhorted the ordinary folks to get into the boats and sail to Jerusalem and liberate it. Those who followed were called crusaders. Between 1095, when the first crusade was launched, and 1291, when the Latin Christians were finally expelled from their kingdom in Syria, there were numerous expeditions to the Holy Land, to Spain, and even to the Baltic. The Crusades continued for several centuries after 1291. So, Islam and Christianity have been at war for many, many centuries. The Christians have emerged victorious. The 9/11 attacks on the Twin Towers, these towers were the symbol of American might. After 9/11, the Americans have started to hate Islam more. So the plan of Osama bin Laden backfired. The only thing that is helping to douse the flame of hatred between the West and Islam is that the people in the West and also Islamic countries are embracing atheism more and more. Videos on YouTube are helping to tell people the truth and turning them into agnostics or atheists. The ranks of the army of ex-Muslims is swelling. Enlightenment came to Europe many centuries ago, but it is still spreading in societies all across the world, thanks to the spread of the internet and of YouTube. TikTok is not of much help in this regard. Number 7, why do people in Islamic countries mistrust the West? As I said, Christianity and Islam have been fighting one another since the birth of Islam around 632 AD. The animosity between these two religions is nothing new. The West has emerged as a victorious power. The West is much stronger militarily and financially compared to Islamic countries. It is no wonder that Muslims do not trust the West. They think the West is out to defeat or at least to weaken their religion. Number 8, the last question. What is the best religion? I am a Hindu, and if I tell you that Hinduism is the best religion, I am not being honest. I am a Hindu, but I hardly follow Hindu beliefs or practices. I have special affinity for atheists. Though Hindus are supposed to believe in Hindu gods like Krishna, Rama, and Hanuman. So I would say that no religion is best. and no religion is worst. Such statements only inflame the religious hatred. Just remember always that all religions are man-made, though they all claim to have divine origin. A religion that not only teaches but practices tolerance for other religions, a religion that hates fanaticism, a religion that truly preaches peace amongst all religions, that religion is the one to follow. Hello, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please do so by clicking on the subscribe link below. Also write your comments in the comment section below. And if this video has helped you, please donate to my channel. The donate link is given in the description field of this video. It is also on the page of About on my channel, the About page on my channel. You can spread the word, you can share this video with your friends by clicking on the share button below, and you can share it with WhatsApp, with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and by sending email to your friends.